Hey guys, it's us again. Another episode of Life of the Lost. I'm Sam.
And I'm Megan.
And we are the two people here to sit with you and talk to you about our life's journey and everything we find interesting in this world that we live in. Before we get started, this week's episode is sponsored by Brown Lab Media. Brown Lab Media is a creative community helping to promote and create original content, personal brands, businesses, or anything media related by people of color. So if you have a chance, feel free to check them out. The link is www.brownlabmedia.com. And I definitely would like to see more people who look like me starting really dope, amazing businesses, because I think that if you come from this part of the world, you probably want that too. Something about seeing somebody, on the silver screen or, on the magazines of like pioneers of like this new cutting edge, company. And just seeing somebody who looks like me is just really inspiring. Just want to say that.
No, it's a good point, especially, when you're a kid and you look up to people and you look up to actors and things. And I'm just thinking about yours, the
they're
people
all white.
I was just going to say that.
Could not relate. Anyways, speaking of that divide,
that kind of goes into this week's episode.
Yeah?
Yeah. So we've been talking about my trip down to Peru to meet, not to meet, I already had met my birth family, but to stay with them, to kind of, for me to find some kind of like piece of identity I felt like was missing. And last week we kind of went into talking a little bit about how I was wondering if I could ever find myself. I went down to Peru. I felt like I couldn't really relate to them, even though I really wanted to. I kind of wanted to find this sense of belonging because they were my birth family, but it just kind of created some turmoil. That was last week's episode. And this week, I kind of wanted to get into my time at the hospital, but more specifically, the first day at the hospital. And so if you've been following along, you know that I was volunteering for Smile Network International, and they go to third world countries and they help fix kids' cleft lips and palates and do surgery, all for free. And so they have this group of doctors and nurses and volunteers who come down with them, and I was volunteering with them at the time. So while I was there, I was in a hospital. First of all, I was in a hospital, and I was kind of, obviously you're so used to the United States and how those things are run, and I'll get into that another time and like the craziness that I experienced there.
They're American doctors.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder how they'd feel about that as American doctors and surgeons.
Yeah, but I don't think they really had any. I mean, they had like help with people giving them. I was in on a surgery, so it was very interesting. But I don't know. They didn't have any help from the Peruvians, so it was kind of they just kind of took over this section, this operating room.
That's so strange. Rooms. I don't know. It's like me coming, like building a huge like music studio in like a room and having it all nice, and then me doing community service and helping smaller like artists create something in their room. And I'm like, do you have
well, they brought everything though. They brought all the tools.
Even the big things? I don't know. What is surgery? I mean, know. I'm thinking like big, like.
No, I mean, this is cleft lips and palates, so it's more like cosmetic surgery. So it's not nothing like limbs or like anything crazy, I suppose.
Yeah, sorry, my like warped version of what like surgery is. I don't think I've seen a serious like surgery room in the United States in general, other than movies.
They're pretty creepy.
I don't even know how.
Well, I guess I've been in a surgery room, so. Is that what it's called? Operating room.
But weren't you asleep by that time?
No. I went in for the second surgery. And the second surgery, they did not knock me out before I got in there, which was horrible. And I was so frustrated because they're like, oh yeah, like, here we are. And it was an unexpected second surgery that I ended up having. And I was in this room, and it's just, I don't know, I don't think I really paid attention to movies and being in operating rooms, but once I was in there, it was just so sterile and creepy, and the bed was the silver pretty much operating table. It's nothing cushy, and I sat on there and I laid down, and I'm just like, oh God, there is this giant light above me, this circular light that you probably see in movies, and everything seemed like it was so far away from the bed. Maybe I was just having like an anxiety attack, but everything felt like it was so far away. It felt like this giant room, and I'm just the center of attention. It was just so creepy. And of course, yeah, then I'm like, all right, can somebody like knock me out now? Because I did not like, I had to walk in there and get on the bed by myself. I did not like that. Just knock me out beforehand. Just
Jesus.
Anyways, it wasn't anything like that. This was kind of going back to my first day being there. I remember talking to my mom and my brother, and I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna go volunteer at the hospital. Like, I'll let you know when I'm ready, and then you can come get me. And so the reason I'm kind of like nervous talking about it is because I might have not clarified as much as I should have. I might have just, we don't, like, there's this giant language barrier. So I can see where specific problems kind of arised from this situation that I'm about to tell you about. Anyways, I told them, let you know when you can come get me at the hospital. And
your family.
Yeah. So I had left by myself, which was a big adventure for me because I had never really left anywhere by myself, left my family in Peru to go somewhere. So that was nice. Kind of got to get out, felt like a little bit free. But when I got there,
that's so interesting how, like, I don't know, I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes. I would not want to live with my family. Like, if I'm doing like if I'm going to the hospital, it's like, so I have to like tell you guys that I'm leaving. Man, I just want a hotel. Where's the hotel? I'm staying in a hotel. I'll see them. I'll hang out with them like a few times a day, and I'll always retreat back to my hotel where I can, It
was uncomfortable, to say the least. Like, because I'm trying to explain it the best way I can, but it's that dynamic of, I just came from the United States. I'm staying with my family. I'm also going to see people from the United States, and they're staying in this really nice hotel. And I was just trying to find a sense of comfort. And when I was with them, when I was volunteering, that was my sense of comfort. Just talking to people who could understand me, and I could understand them. And, there wasn't that much of this barrier. So I'm talking about this and I'm kind of like stopping and stuttering. It's because it was a very nerve-wracking time for me. So when I told them, like, hey, I'm leaving, I'm going to the hospital, don't come. Like, I will let you know when you can come and pick me up to take me back home. And yeah, even saying that is interesting, right? I was 24, I think, at the time. So I don't know. I was kind of used to that. My mom's kind of protective in Minnesota. So it's one of those, like, text me when you get there kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like that was too uncomfortable, but the uncomfortable part happened when I was at the hospital. And there was about 4 hours left in my shift. I could leave whenever I wanted. This was volunteer-based. I didn't have to be there. But out of the corner of my eye, I see my mom and my brother show up. And they were in the waiting room. First off, I didn't want them to be anywhere near me. And this is going to sound weird, but I wanted to just be able to... I wanted to be there because I could attribute something to this cause. I already had kind of got in because my dad's cousin is the founder, right, of Smile Network. So I felt like I needed to prove myself. I wasn't just going to kind of slip and slide and just come and say, hey, and eat their food and just watch, the volunteers work. No, I wanted to be like in the fire. I wanted to be a part of everything. And so when I saw my family there, I was like, shit, like, it is not time for me to go. It is not, like, you should not be here right now. So I just kind of like was like, all right, just trying to gather my thoughts. I just kept going up and down the stairs. There was a broken elevator at the time, so we're just going up and down the 5th floor, back and forth. There's this time I was going down the stairs, and I was bombarded by 3 women. And when you've seen like 3 angry women, they were just waiting for me, like a half circle at the bottom of the stairs, just waiting for me to get to the bottom one. And I was like, looking like, is there somebody behind me? What's happening? And they're pissed. And they were asking me questions like, do you know your mom's here? Do you know your family's here? Do you not care? I couldn't answer. I couldn't answer anything they were saying because anytime I tried to say something, I was just digging myself in a bigger hole. And one of the things I highlighted in my notebook that I wanted to read is just kind of something they told me, and they just said, just because you're from the United States doesn't mean that you can't show that you love your mom. Like, you're so spoiled. You act like you don't need to mind the feelings of anyone. You don't even understand the difference between the cultures. You'll never understand now because you don't care. You don't want to learn about the way of life here. You need to respect your mom and leave now because she's been waiting here for you. And I was so angry because I'm like, duh. Like, that's why I'm in Peru, because I didn't grow up Peruvian. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Things are so different. I didn't want to cause problems. It was just this gigantic, like, mess I had gotten myself into, and I couldn't get myself out, and it was just like a nightmare. You're just sitting there and people are just bombarding you and yelling at you about something you know, but you don't know how to, like, address. And it was just so uncomfortable for me, because I'm just kind of like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I had, made an obligation to be there for 4 more hours. I don't want to be disrespectful to my mom and my brother. I understand they're here. I don't know what to do. And so I had asked somebody to kind of translate the situation to my mom and my brother. They were pissed. I felt like they were pissed off at me. It was very awkward. It was very uncomfortable. So I had just gone into my mom and my brother. I feel like I'm just kind of like running through this story because I'm so nervous about it. I still feel those scary feelings. It was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, I'm like, getting a little lost just because I'm hearing like the root of the story, but like I guess when names aren't repeated over and over again.
You're right.
Like, my brother said this, my family said this. Then, like, for instance, like, one thing that stuck out to me is when you were saying, like, you respect your mom and leave. You forgot 2 very important words, which is leave now with her.
Oh, you're right.
So if I didn't hear with her, I'm like, leave. Where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
You're not gonna go. Like, what? I don't get it.
Yeah.
That hook of, like, what makes it, like, solidified is, like, leave with your mom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. You're leaving with your mom, but you're still working here. But okay.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, just.
I know. I'm like rushing it because I'm so, like, it was just such an uncomfortable feeling. And because I think if you remember back, like, in one of the very first episodes, I got bombarded when I was in junior high about being like a fake Hispanic or a fake Peruvian. And it was like literally the same situation. I was walking down the stairs and these girls kind of bombarded me and just kind of bullied me and tried to put me in my place. And then for this thing to happen again, it's just like PTSD. Like, why is this happening? Why are stairs involved? Like, I don't know. So I apologize for rushing through it so fast. But it was just a moment that I was just very frustrated about, and felt like I couldn't really relate to anybody at the time because nobody was going through the weird experience I was of having my birth family there while you're trying to juggle something else. And so I had gone into this break room where they had snacks, and I had just kind of like just started like crying and like eating my snack, and somebody had come and I had just kind of unloaded and told them everything that happened, and a few people were there and they were, giving me support. And one of the women, she spoke Spanish, and her boyfriend at the time spoke Spanish too. He was Peruvian. He's like, who are these women yelling at you? And I was like, I don't remember. I knew who they were, but I didn't want to say anything because I don't want problems. Like, I'm scared. This is my first day working here. I don't want to be remembered as this girl who's just crying because she's a baby. Like, so I just kind of just was like hugging my friend, just like crying. And then like a minute later, he kind of just rushed out the doors and he's like, I'm going to find these people. And my anxiety is just like, no, just wait. Just like, don't. It's okay. Like, just let these people be these people. They don't understand my situation. I barely understand my situation. And, it was just a mess. I eventually, like, I don't know why I'm shaking. I'm just like, oh God, it was just like a nervous, like, maybe I haven't talked about this since. But I ended up leaving with my mom and my brother because I was just kind of like, let's like try to like resolve this situation. I went on the bus back home with them and I didn't talk to them at all. I was so scared because I had never had somebody, my mom had never been mad at me before, nor my brother. So I'm walking into this foreign family where my adopted family, we've been mad at each other plenty of times. We've had plenty of fights, plenty of disagreements where I can tell what they're going to do when they're angry, right? Well, kind of. But this is a totally different environment that I'm walking into, and I have no idea what my mom's level of anger is going to be when I get home, what my brother's thinking. they know I'm obviously upset. I was crying all the way home. Like,
And no one explained that to them, what you were doing?
they did, but I don't. The problem is, like, there's just so much gets lost in translation. Like, so much gets lost. It's like, I also didn't want to cause a scene. Like, they were literally in the waiting room with the kids who were getting checked to see if they can have surgery. So felt so, I'm like shaking. I felt so much pressure to have them just not be there, just not cause like this giant problem. And I don't know. It was uncomfortable. And I don't know. But anyways, like, I had gotten home and I had just, I had just closed my door and I was just like, please just don't. Nobody come say anything, like, I'm scared. And my sister ended up coming in and I was trying to tell her the situation. We were talking on her laptop and it was kind of just a Google Translate thing, and I was telling her what happened and she was like, oh my God, and she's crying and I'm crying and we're talking over this computer, and it was just kind of it was so stressful. And I don't know, it was just a mess.
Seems like overcomplication of emotions
Completely.
with everybody on the
None
same.
of this needed to happen at all. None of it. None
Just
of
like
it.
four-
I
four more of
overcomplicated
you,
it.
3 more of you.
Yes, and how crazy and over,
Oh
like,
God, I'm feeling my heart's starting to hurt right now.
like, I don't know. I guess, like I said, I'm trying to do my best at explaining this, but I guess I did move super fast in talking about it. But for me, just having these, like I said, my whole purpose of going down there was to try to find my place. And each time I felt like I was kind of finding my place, I felt like I was this plant, and my seeds were kind of getting planted and watered, and I'm finally, like, sprouting up, like, showing my worth, showing that, like, I can contribute to some kind of cause. And then all of a sudden, like, somebody just rips me out and is just like, no, you can't be there. And so, I mean, even just sitting there, when parents are asking a bunch of questions because they're worrying about their kids going into surgeries, and they're talking a million miles per hour, and I'm trying to, like, just let them know, like, hey, I don't speak Spanish. So that, like, automatically segregates me from them, and I'm trying to help them. And it's just, everybody assumes you spoke Spanish. Like, I spoke Spanish down there. So that first day was just such a whirlwind of feeling like you are never going to fit in anywhere. Like, you're stuck. And so
That's
maybe
alright.
that's why, like, I'm all, like, nervous about it, because it was just so emotional and, like,
Such a weird feeling like that you're not gonna fit in anywhere. It's like a feeling that always, like, crashes on me like waves. I always think about it differently at certain times in my life, but I think more recently, like, even up to this moment right now of you talking about it, which is reminding me of it, is that, I'm like different. Like, I'll never kind of be like my family because I don't have the same skin color as them. And as superficial as that might be, it's the very big elephant in the room, which is because of that, I just don't fit in physically. And obviously, when it comes to I fit in everywhere else in another culture that I just do not understand at all to a certain extent. I mean, I appreciate it. I love that kind of culture. The one thing I love about that culture, which is, I guess, one thing I'm grateful about it, is, like you were touching on, is a little bit, which is just like the emotion, the very, like, I mean, it's not subjected to a specific family that I've been thinking about it. I mean, there are some people in my extended family who I felt that in the past, who I had no business feeling, but I did. And
what do you mean?
like a family member that was a lot closer to me at a certain point in my life,
Yeah.
that in retrospect is a family member
Yeah.
that I no longer talk to anymore because they have excommunicadoed me in their life. I wonder if you know who I'm referencing. I'm being
I
very
think I am.
unspecific, but there was this one period where I was in a very like bad place in a specific event, one specific event, not in like a period of time, just one specific event where I was in a very bad place, and I just felt like the level of depth of their feelings matched mine, and it was very interesting. I don't know what to make of it, but all I know is that I can relate that strong potency of like just raw feelings. What I've also come to realize is that you can, no matter how much feelings, no matter how deep you can feel, no matter how like remorseful or like how much love you can feel or hate you can feel or sadness you can feel, it's all about like how you are able to express it, because you are nothing without your forms of expression. Like Shakespeare, like he's not from that place, but not limited to the depth of feeling, but like Shakespeare is a beautiful example of somebody who can articulate their emotions into beautiful pieces of artwork that people can understand and appreciate. It's not that nobody has those feelings of Shakespeare, thoughts of stories of Shakespeare's stories that he makes, but it's how he's able to write them that creates him above all the rest because of his understanding of his feelings. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
And I think that's kind of where
that's where it limits a lot of people, like maybe like your mom in Peru, or maybe like my family, or maybe other Hispanic families, because what I've noticed is that they're very loving and they're very emotional, but they don't say it. They don't have these forms of communication where they can properly express the reasons why they love certain things or why they're very hurt. It's just it is, and they put up this very interesting front to kind of deny those feelings, even though they're very much there. And it's like, I mean, I don't know what to make of that, but all I can say, bring it back to my point, is that that's one of the reasons why I am appreciative of where I come from, because I feel like those feelings are rooted back into the culture that I was born from. Even though I didn't grow up like them, I still have some of that blood in me. And I think that some of that is that very pure depth of feeling. I don't know, maybe that's even more spiritual to the specific, ancient civilizations that we derive from, whether it's like Mexican civilizations or Central American civilizations or South American civilizations. So, yeah, it's just interesting. Sorry, I just was wanting to say that.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to kind of have that outlet of how you handle your emotions, right? I did not do a good job at handling them at all. Like you said, it was just this giant ball that just kept unwinding and unwinding and unwinding. And you want to know the outcome of that? Nothing happened, because I got home when I told my sister, and then I'm sure she had a talk with my brother or my mom, whatever the case, but it felt like it just kind of got shoved under a rug, and the next day we pretended nothing happened. Obviously, they did not come pick me up, because I decided from there on out I would be a little bit more in control, and I learned how to take the buses back and forth. But it's just like, for what? Like that seriously, like, ridiculous time that still has such an effect on me right now, and trying to just kind of find an outlet for it. And I think that now, like, growing up, I have a better way at navigating it, but it's just like thinking back to that time where I just would just suppress everything. I think that's what just made me like start literally shaking right now, is because it was just such a weird time where I didn't know what to do, and I was just in such fear of offending somebody, or I just guess it just goes back on trying to make everybody happy all the time, and knowing that it's just impossible, and so much so you just bottle this up and you just become this mess. And so I think it was just a little bit of everything back then, and I'm glad I'm not there right now.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the things that you struggle with, I think, are stemmed from that idea that you have of trying to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
It's not sure where you solidified that idea in your head at a certain point in time, but it's interesting how, it's it's just, I can feel it. Like when you get into these moments in the past, you know, you're just like, oh my goodness. Like all, like, it's just like, it's like it's like somebody trying to control a sandcastle, and it's literally just blowing away, and you are literally so in such a belief that you can make it stay. But you know, everyone sees it's going. But you're like, and you're invested too now. Now you're invested. Now it has to stay. And then you know it's gone. So then it's just like, oh man.
And then when that falls apart, it's like another like overwhelming amount of feelings. And I mean, it stems back from childhood, just from like my parents fighting a lot and wanting to make sure that I'm like keeping it together. But obviously, like, we know, you know, you grow up, you realize like kids aren't gonna keep it together, and it's hard watching a kid think that they're like, thinking back to myself, I'm sure, I don't even know if they realized at the time. I mean, I'm sure they did to an extent, just realizing that I was just trying to like hold this frame together, even though like I don't even know what I was doing. I don't know what they were necessarily fighting about. I was just trying to make sure that they were both happy, and obviously like I couldn't do anything back then. But that's kind of where it stems from, is just this whole like trying to hold the sandcastle together while the winds are just like coming in and everything's falling apart, and you know, it just, it doesn't work.
No, I completely understand. I don't know, it's weird. It's weird. I feel like I'm a little the opposite. I don't know. What one thing I struggle, my communication definitely struggled a lot when I was younger. Me explaining to people why I was the way I am, like, you know, why I was feeling angry or upset, and I don't know why that was. I don't know why I couldn't do that. I guess because I didn't want somebody to...
It's a scary thing.
No, I was right. They were right. Like, I was right. I was right, right? Like, it's like if I'm saying I'm sad, and they're like, I know. No, you don't. No, I'm not sad anymore. You know, it's like, you know, it's like that little like kid thing. Yeah, and yeah, I'm happy that, you know, maybe I don't do that anymore, or I try not to.
Yeah, no, I think you do a good job at like expressing how you feel. It's just, this is all just kind of, it all kind of relates, you know, just going back, looking at a time, which is kind of why like I like kind of talking about this, because it's kind of like getting it out and kind of having these past things kind of come up again, so you can refeel them, but then you can refeel them and then put them into a different place, because, you know, me talking about them and me getting super like emotional about them means that I haven't really resolved those things. And why it's kind of relating is because I feel like, obviously, I always dig for like, why this has to be this way. And today something super cool happened. Like, so I'm reading like 8 books at the same time. And the coolest thing about it is I'm learning about the creator, this Inca creator. And his name's, a lot of people call him Viracocha. Like, the spelling is different in like 5 of the books that I've been reading. And the cool thing is that in every single book, there's kind of like a little bit of, it's kind of like moves and sways, right? Not every single story is the exact same about him and about how he created the Incas and all of these things. And it's cool because I'm just like, all right, that means that I can kind of take my interpretation from all of these things and kind of make them my own. And now going back to this, kind of rereading it, like, this is it. Yes, it happened in the past, but now I can take all of these things, all of these thoughts, all of these emotions, and I can kind of make them my own and put them in a certain place.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, you know, I guess like that God, an analogy is, I guess, from what I'm interpreting it is, you know, like Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that today.
You know, one person could literally like live by the book of the Holy Bible and do everything right. And what happens, you know, like, let's say that book is lost and that person can't really like, you know, perform everything from top notch down. It's like, so like the moral of the story is that I think it's important that, you know, people remember, you know, Jesus Christ for the what he was in general, which was, you know, he was somebody who don't quote me on this,
coming from somebody who's Jewish,
yeah, like he is somebody, you know, who created this list of kind of like ways to live your life if you want to be in heaven. In that retrospect, right? Like the Bible and just
I
like, you know,
couldn't
thou
tell
shalt
you.
not. I don't know who, did Jesus, I think Jesus
The
was a
Ten
conduit.
Commandments.
Jesus was a conduit, right? That Jesus was the prophet who God spoke to, and he wrote the Bible. Don't quote me on this, but anyways, if Jesus did write the Bible, say like Moses wrote like the Torah or scribed the Torah. Anyways, but just like these people, these things, I think that it's important to remember them at their core, at their value, and what they stood for, which is, you know, living a good life, you know, being faithful, being honest, you know, doing the right thing, treating with your neighbors with respect, honor, and dignity, and all that stuff. And, you know, and that's the important thing. It's not about the little nitty gritties of like potentially eating like kosher on X, Y, and Z. Like, yes, it is. It is totally about that. But let's just say you didn't have that book and you lost those kind of teachings along the way. What's the moral of these people and why they follow what they follow? Because when it comes to the Incan civilization, these books are kind of they're lost. We don't have these fundamental ways that they kind of dictated their life. We have scraps and pieces that we can pull together through research, but nothing the way that, you know, the Bible or the Torah or the Quran has.
Yeah.
And so if you view it like that, then yes, when it comes into context of reading a book that has multiple versions, interpretations of this person, that's really important because, you know, it's you take from it and you use it as knowledge, but you also kind of create your own interpretation of this person. Mm-hmm. And you're doing it because you love it, because you love this God because of what it represented to the culture that you came from
and how it relates to your life.
Exactly. And the moral is that it's a good thing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like this God is brings good things. You know, it has valuable teaching lessons, spirituality, you know, understanding oneself. Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know, that's the moral of it, and how, you know, you do that is kind of up to you and your life and the way you live your life and dictate your life. And I think that's the most important part.
Yeah.
About like keeping things like that alive, you know? It's like, I don't know. It's even weird. It's like Abraham Lincoln, right? Abraham Lincoln, like his whole life did a whole bunch of like maybe questionable things. I don't know, like in his life, maybe like the day in and day outs. Maybe, I don't know, he talked to another girl and he had his wife. I don't know, like little things like that, right? And then, but what do we remember him for? Remember him for giving African Americans equal opportunity and making them not slaves anymore. What do you remember him for? Uniting this amazing country, the United States of America, back into a whole. You know, and those big things are like his accomplishments and in these speeches, you know, of the Emancipation Proclamation, you know, and all of these teachings that he had, all these like really great ideas. I remember Abraham Lincoln for that. I don't remember him for these nitty gritty things of like maybe, you know, he did X, Y, and Z bad or good or not, like, because that's the fundamentals, right? Like the fundamentals of God, right? The fundamentals of Jesus, the fundamentals of Moses, you know? I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, is that, you know, yeah.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense to kind of explore the details. Sometimes, I mean, it's good to explore the details because what if the details are everything that make up the big things, right? And so, you know, like you're talking about maybe he did wrong or maybe he did this. Whatever it is that he did, whatever good, whatever bad he did, led him up to what he's remembered for. And so I guess I have to keep remembering that too. You know, it's not, yes, these details matter. And yes, we kind of, for me, I always have to kind of find a place to store them, find a place to have the reasoning behind them. And I guess it's just kind of this, like an unresolved feeling sometimes, you know, of like exploration of what did this mean and why did this happen and things like that. But maybe I'm not making any sense. Maybe I'm just rambling right now. But
no, I definitely think that the details are important. But I guess if you don't have the details,
and you creating them like on your own.
Kind of. in a way.
Well, like taking what you have and like making your own interpretation of it. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Because I guess like I'm just trying to kind of relate it to myself too in this moment, because I'm trying, honestly, right now, I'm just trying to figure out why I have such unresolved feelings about this. But I think it's genuinely because I'm still like deep down that like little kid who's scared, you know, from junior high, from when I was 24 and this happened, just scared of being in that flux of cultures, of like being one way around certain people and too far up or too far down, and not finding that median. And now like comparing it to my life now and just saying, okay, it is this way because of this. Or not even, I guess, maybe not even labeling it.
Don't even label it. I just say, you know what, I am who I am. You know, take it or leave it to a certain extent. You know, I'm not gonna talk differently based on where I'm from or in any case.
Yeah.
I just, you know, really try and just be who I am, because like kind of, I guess I put all of that onto them. I don't put it onto me.
Yeah, and I can't, it's not like I would love to go back and find those people. This brings me back to the point yesterday, like last thing to wrap it up.
Or even going back to your family and just being like, look, like, is it so wrong that I would like, you know, a towel to sit on the floor? I would like a chair. Do you have a chair? Because I don't really want to sit on the floor. I know you guys are used to that, but like, I got a bad back. It hurts my legs.
That's like the opposite of what I wanted,
I go numb. But I'm just saying, coming back to your family, being as true to yourself, like me being true to myself, to my family who likes maybe live on the stays on the floor when they eat or stays on the floor when they hang out. I'd love to do that, but do you have a chair?
Yeah.
Like, is that so wrong? Like, I'm trying to do what works for me.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you how to live your life. I respect that, but you also need to know that I am different than you, and I'm not subjecting it to me living in a different country. I could live in Peru too, but I could still be different than you.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't like sitting on the floor. Like, you know, or sorry, I just don't like eating that kind of chicken, so I'm just going to go like to Popeyes or something. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I tried that once.
It's like finding that balance of like, do you have to apologize?
Well, I mean, I'll apologize, but like the bottom line is I'm not gonna have it.
Yeah.
Like, so yes, if you take my apology and use it as kind of like some confectionery stuff to sugar in the me not doing that, then yes. But like, I'm not. It's like sorry. Like, that's why the sorry not sorry is there, because I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not really sorry because I'm doing it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's kind of, it goes into that. I guess the more you start to think about that, about like what you want, about what makes you happy, and less about what somebody else feels.
But that's the number one problem, not knowing.
What?
Not knowing what makes you happy, because you've been like
Jesus, you got OD deep. I'm talking about like a chair. Talking about like.
Yeah, but what happens if it the problem with that is it leads to mundane things like the chair. Mm-hmm. When you're genuinely just trying to make everybody happy, you're so caught up in thinking about that chair. You're so caught up in thinking about the chicken that you are just trying to appease people so much that you don't even know what it is that you want. I don't even know if I want the chair, because I don't even know what I want.
Oh my God.
I know. That's literally what my mindset was down there. I was so confused looking for this place.
Not your mindset now, then. Your mindset now.
I know, but I think that's why. I don't think I ever dealt with this, yo. This is like so real and scary to me, just thinking about this all over again.
No,
so I'm just like stuck. I'm like, yo, what was happening?
I guess my view of it is just like the little things, all about the little things in life, like vanilla sky. It's all about the little things. Like, for instance, the chair, right? Like, that's the little thing. You don't have to know yourself, but you do know that when you sit on the floor, your legs go to sleep.
Isn't that knowing yourself?
That is knowing yourself, but that's knowing a different part of yourself. It's not like saying
it's
who
like
am I and what's my purpose in life. No, don't think about that. You think about that, you'll crack. Anyone would crack. But you think about what the things you like now, what you want to do now, like you know, you want to go to White Castle. I want to go to White Castle, but you don't, because you are craving this. That's the little things. That little thing defined you. It defined you. Yeah. That's a piece of who you are.
Yeah.
You decided to go to eat Peruvian food. That piece of Peruvian food and that style is approving food, because that just mean by one occasion, but how about like in a week or two that I keep going this way and that way and this way, but you still go back to Peru proving food, or then you still go to Chick-fil-A food or something, right? So then you just define yourself by these three things, when I just kind of went over here and did this. So that defines me in this little thing, but this defines you, and the little decisions that you make every day in your life will slowly define who you are. And thinking about that, not thinking about, oh man, what is this all going to add up to? To keep into mind, but just to like, if you get into that, oh my God, what do I want to, am I hungry? Like, what do I want to do, right? In this very moment right now. Like, just throw it all away for a second.
Like these tiny things, like adding them up.
Exactly. Like, I want to draw. Okay, Megan, you want to draw.
This is so funny because I literally like was having this conversation with myself earlier.
Really?
Because I have my notebook about like what I want to do for Supay for this week, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't really involve reading 8 books at the same time. But because I am in love with these books, putting all these pieces together, and then I literally found a book where this guy is literally, his brain works like mine, where he was literally combining all of these different gods, shamans of like Hinduism, and God, I can't even remember it right now, but there was so many. So he's combining all these shamans from all over the world, and then he was like looking at Peru, and he's like, but I'm comparing this, but I don't really understand why this, and he's asking so many questions, and I was like, this book is so intense, I can't even read it, it's so overwhelming. But I was like, that's how I think. Anyways, me going back to loving what I'm doing right now. I'm on the floor and I'm sprawled out, and these books are everywhere, and I have notes everywhere, and I'm just loving it. And so I'm just like, yo, I'm supposed to be doing that. What if this like brings something better to that thing that I was supposed to do? What if this like helps me get there faster? Because I love doing this so much, all of a sudden I'm just kind of like, okay, I have all of these things to do, but like, let's just ride this wave really quick. Let's just see where it takes me.
And now you know why I like watching these crazy out there movies, reading these crazy in-depth stories, creepypastas, reading these crazy in-depth comics of annotations, right? It's all because it's one purpose, right? How can I spark creativity? How can I spark interest?
Yeah.
How can I relate these cool concepts to my own craft?
And not getting enough of it.
Yeah, and not getting enough of it would stagnate you. It would make you things would get stale a little bit in your own mind. Maybe not in reality, but in your own mind, you're like, I need to keep this train moving. What else? Think bigger. Think.
Well, just like the other day when we were talking on the drive home, and we were talking about how like you just want to be able to like contain more, like absorb more, and not necessarily feeling like you're not able to like absorb more and more. And that's like what I kept feeling today. Like I'm opening this book and I'm like searching for the same word in this book to try to kind of make sense of this, and I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm literally gonna need somebody to help put all my notes together. This is so fun for me. Like, I'm just like, I'm loving this, but. Yeah, I feel like I just digressed, but...
No, I think this conversation went to a great in-depth conversation about life on the hinges of, your story about, where you were back then, and just unresolved issues, which we were about to go into unresolved issues, which the unresolved issues are about, like, figuring out, like, how to keep yourself motivated, figuring out how to maximize your mind in the limited time that you have in a daily work day, other than your obligations. How do you make time for yourself in terms of trying to figure out your passions of what you really want your life to be, but at the moment it's not necessarily that much your life, but you want it to be. So how can I use this precious time and get there, and that's what, like, anyways. I definitely love to continue this conversation, but I have to get ready for a podcast. They see where my mind is. That's a good thing. I was saying podcast. I was getting ready for a stream.
Yes.
So.
We gotta eat.
And we gotta eat. We gotta eat some Chick-fil-A. I'm on that Chick-fil-A binge.
Yes. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about everything, and how I kind of just feel like I'm like a baby right now, just kind of like exploring all of these fun new like toys and things. It's been really fun. So
knowledge is power. Anyways, but yeah.
We will catch you guys next time.
Yes. So, peace out, guys. Sorry, it's very short. I had this whole spiel plan, but I'm not going to do that because
You mean your goodbye?
Yes, my rambling of goodbyes.
Yeah, but, here we are. It's like a Minnesota goodbye. You just can't say bye.
Yeah.
Talk about how you want it to be quick.
Flip the peace signs and say peace out, guys.
We'll see you guys next time on Life of the Last.